On this episode of Hudson Valley Hustle, I'm joined by Nina Bartholomew, owner of Little Garden Montessori School in LaGrangeville. Nina's been an entrepreneur pretty much all her life. You'll hear about that in the episode. But before we get into it, if you need videos or marketing or just want your business to go viral so you can get more customers, hire Vivo. That's what we do. The message here is hire us before your competition does. So if you need videos, vivocreative.net. Enjoy the episode. I think the first thing I was wondering was, I don't know a lot about Montessori schools in general. Okay. So is it like a particular type of curriculum style? What is?
So it's more of a philosophy. So Montessori really is based in so Maria Montessori was a doctor in Italy. She was the first female doctor in Rome. And she was, after she got all her doctoring school done, they placed her in places where they just thought, well, like she'll fail. But what she did was, they placed her in a home where these children were in a hospital. A lot of them had learning disabilities or were deaf or blind or anything. And they were thought to be unteachable. And so what she did was she started to just make observations. She was a scientist. So she made observations and she noticed that any little, what she said was there was like a piece of paper or a crumb, a breadcrumb on the floor, and they would really engage with that. And so she realized if she started to enrich the environment, the patients, the students essentially, would start to thrive, and they would start to learn, and they would be able to do and say and grow. And so she started to really think about, how can I incorporate what I know and start to begin to teach these unteachable children. And that's when she created a lot of her work. So one of the works are called sandpaper letters, and they're just these cardboard tablets, or not, they're like composite wood, but the letters are made of sandpaper. They're raised. Okay. So even if you are blind, it's engaging. So you will take your two fingers and go over the letters, and it's
so you can still kind of trace the letters even if you couldn't see them.
That's, right. Yeah. And so it's also, and if you know a lot about children at all, you know, like they love singing songs, and the more senses you engage, the more they'll retain the information. So in just alone, just adding that sensory, that raised letter, helped the child, like, oh, this is so-and-so, this is A, and then she would trace it out, and then you can work from there. But if these children were just they were just counted out. So she started, like I said, to conduct all these experiments. So that's kind of where the philosophy stems from. So us as Montessorians, like I said, it's more of a philosophy. We really focus on engaging the child's independence and curating their curiosity and making sure that they want to learn. You're not trying to shove any lessons down their throat. So we call ourselves guides. And once the classroom is kind of set up, you set up your lessons and everything. And if you look it up, if you Google it, you'll see a lot of things on trays. And those are called work. And it's all play, but play is the work of the child, and that, I didn't make that up. She that was her quote. And basically, children learn through play, and they learn through engaging, and they learn through sensory input. And so that's what really attracted me, was that I don't have to be over the child, engaging with them. Not that I don't engage with them, but I don't have to shove these lessons down their throats. They really want to engage and do these things on their own. So they become curious, and they become self-made learners, and they just keep going and going and going. And with that, you'd be surprised with the environment that you curate, right? Us as guides, even as parents, we curate our environment. So for example, if you want your kid to eat healthy food, you're going to put healthy food out. So we want our children to learn about, say, the human body. I have this tiny little skeleton, we call them pickles, in the classroom. And then they kind of take that off the shelf and go like, hey, what is this? And I go, oh, great. I don't have to teach that lesson. We're just talking about it. And they kind of start to learn, like, oh, this bone's connected to that. And, right now Pickle's foot fell off, and we joked that he has diabetes, that his foot fell off. Oh my God. But I mean, not with the kids. We need to keep it. Wow. But like
kindergarten was wild.
But they really do they really do engage with the environment fully. They know that everything on the shelf they can touch. They can
Yep.
pour water. They can be spooning. They can make themselves a snack. Those are all the things that we have on the shelves. And then some things are very like, they're beautiful. So the children want to engage with that in a different way. So we have this other, I should have brought it. We have these other, these trinomial and binomial cubes, and they're like a puzzle. And even adults think they're beautiful. So all the surfaces are really smooth and the colors are vibrant. And it's all really designed so that the children want to engage with it and touch it. And then after that, they can ask you like, hey, what is this? How does this fit together?
Right.
And so it becomes a natural way for the children to grow their curiosity and grow their independence. So that's basically what
That's great. Yeah. Is it catered to a child in a different way? Because if you're letting them kind of explore in their own kind of way, doesn't that create like a little bit of an individualized way for them to learn? Because each student is totally different.
Yes. So every single student that comes through the door, they all engage in the environment in their own way.
Gotcha.
The lovely thing about our classroom, though, most Montessori schools, I would say all Montessori schools, is part of the philosophy is having a multi-age classroom. So the kids in our classroom range from ages, right now, I don't think we have any 2-year-olds, to 2.75. 2 years and 9 months is the youngest we can take them. And we really prefer that they're potty trained, but we work on that. Up to the kindergarten year. So that's called the primary age group.
Okay.
From 3 to 6, essentially. And yes, every single child comes in and they engage in their own way. So we follow the child. A lot of times there's big chairs all over the classroom. Mostly everything is small, but the big chairs are for the teachers, for us guides. And we sit and we will observe what the child needs, what they're interested in. Some children are really interested in science. Some children are really interested in dinosaurs. Some children are really interested in textures. So then we try to engage with them in however they are. It's
That's
very
great, yeah.
And the thing that makes us, I'm really proud. This year we have hired, there's 5 teachers in the classroom right now, because even though it's like way above ratio, like the ratio is 1 to 7 for New York State, we're at about 1 to 4, 1 to 5.
So you get even more attention. That's great. Yeah.
Because it really does take a lot of time and energy for each one of these children to get all of the time and attention that they need. So it's been really eye-opening and kind of amazing when parents come in for the first time and they see what their child is capable of. And they say, like, they don't do that at home. And I'm like, yeah, well, we have the things here and you don't have the things at home.
Sure.
Even cleaning things, everything is small for them to do. So
Love it.
it really is. Some kids love to clean too. So that's the thing that we just, they make a mess. And then I have a tiny little mop.
Mine don't. So.
Send them over to Little Garden.
Yeah, really.
Look at them. Yeah, I tell you, they're going to copy everything you do because whether you like it or not, they always. That's why we say model the behavior you want to see. So if we want them to be quiet and calm, we stay quiet and calm. If we want them to clean, we clean. And then they kind of just want to do what we do. And the thing that stops most of them is that they can't, hold the vacuum or wield the broom.
Like they physically can't do it, right? So that's why everything is made smaller for them. That's great. That's cool.
Yeah. One of the things that Maria Montessori, most people don't know this, but her biggest contribution, I feel like, to early childhood education was the small things. Because before that, everything was just adult sized. And if you can imagine being a child and like your cup is gigantic and the stairs are huge. And, the stairs you can't really help, but a cup, you can make a smaller cup. You can make a smaller dustpan. You can make, a smaller garbage can. You can make a smaller broom. You can make a smaller plate. All of that I think it helps the children really, really feel like it's their own. So they become very invested in our environment.
Yeah,
so.
That's great. Yeah. And so how old can they be on the top end? Did you say 6?
6.
Gotcha.
Well, 6, they have to, we can teach up to kindergarten. So some kids,
gotcha.
I usually say 6 because in New York State, you don't have to be in school until you're 7 years old. I don't know if people know that. You can also forego kindergarten and do kindergarten privately. And then go right into first grade.
That we knew, but I didn't know you could be 7 before you get into school.
Yeah,
okay,
you could. I know. I didn't know that either until I started in this industry. Yeah, you don't have to be in school until you're 7. Then it's like a problem. So we can have them up to 6 years old.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So where do a lot of the students end up going after Montessori? Is it do you find that a lot of them are going into private school or right into public or where?
A lot of them go to private school. To public school.
Okay.
There are some Montessori schools that go all the way up to high school or to middle school, there aren't really many around here. And they mostly succeed in large cities. So it's not really happening around here.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, mostly we get them prepared for public school. And honestly, my philosophy on that is I love this type of education to prepare you for public school. Because in public school, you're not going to get that type of attention.
Right, yeah, of course.
But you are expected, especially now with the expectations of younger and younger students, to have like a laptop and do homework, and which, don't get me started, that's a whole nother podcast. But
not a fan. Personally,
Me
not a
either.
fan. I have a third grader doing homework, and it's,
I don't think they should be doing. They should be
personally,
reading.
I think it's insane.
Yeah, and they should be playing.
The kid's in school for 6 hours, and he's beat by the end of the day, and now you expect them to do more of that. Honestly, doing homework's a nightmare. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. 100%.
I just think that they can spend their time in a way better way.
If they can't do the work in the 30 hours that they're at school all week long,
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agreed. And a lot of it, I also think is, it's overtaxing, and it gets them to not love school.
he doesn't like it.
So-
that's doing that. Absolutely. 100%.
So I'll be honest with you, kids that leave the school, even at the end of the day, they're like, just 5 more minutes. I just want to stay. And they throw tantrums because they don't want to leave because they love it so much. Because
it feels like play, right?
It feels like play, and it feels like home, and it feels like this is what I want to be doing. And guess what? They're learning. They're learning every single time. I cannot tell you how many times parents will be like, I'm so sorry that they're throwing a tantrum. I'm like, I love it. That's your problem.
Yeah, it's a great ad
I'm
for
sorry
me.
You have to go home with them, but
Yeah.
they're doing, they absolutely love it. But yeah, I think setting them up to be resilient and to kind of be self-driven learners sets them up really well for public school.
That's part of my problem with that organized education as a whole. It's every kid is so different, and like I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and even the 2 of them are completely different in the way that they interact and the way that they're learning things. And like I know the way the school system is.
Yeah,
my 8-year-old doesn't love it. He's not, and I think he's just gonna, like, I always had no problem in school. I think he's gonna have a little bit of a pushback because he just doesn't like it.
Right.
He likes kind of doing his own thing and being independent. And I think we're failing kids in that respect when it comes to education.
So thank you for saying that. I'm so glad somebody else feels that way. That's 100% the reason why when I found Montessori, I was like, you don't have to do it this way. Like, I was raised in a very, I guess I can say this, but like very Latin expectation that you like hover over your child. That child should have no hardship happen to them at all. And, I was just like, I found Montessori when I was pregnant with my son, who is now 14 and huge. So just look forward to that. His head is on top of my head. He's so big. But anyway, the point was that I went into that thinking, I'm not looking forward to this. I'm not looking forward to having to do every little thing for them and to think for them and to think for myself, for him and for her. Right. And for, it was not what I wanted to do. So in doing that, when I found Montessori, I realized these children are doing this gracefully. They're moving through the classroom like slowly, and they're meandering through all of this furniture. And like a kid came up to me with like a tray of apples. Would you care for an apple? And I was like, what did you put in this apple? Like, what is this stuff for a kid? And then I started to do my research, and I was like, this is a way that I can actually gain some of my like bandwidth back, and then I can be a better parent. And then I just don't understand why the reason why I love this so much and I want to spread this so much is because I think that gets lost. I think the reason why your son or your 8-year-old is feeling that stress is because his teachers are probably feeling that stress. Like he has to learn XYZ by the end of
this day.
But in this unit, and like maybe he doesn't. Maybe he'll get it, but maybe it'll just take him a little bit longer. And I think when you allow it to become a natural curiosity, I cannot tell you. I have about 2 kids in my class right now my graduating class this year is 5 kids, which I know isn't a huge, but it's huge for us. We had this huge enrollment boom from last year to this year. Yeah. We like doubled our class size. But so I have 5 kids that are graduating. It's our biggest graduating class. And 4 of them are going to be going into kindergarten, and 1 will be going into first grade. But those kindergartners, 2 of the kindergartners, or 2 kids that are going into kindergarten, are going to know how to multiply, are going to know how to build 4-digit numbers, and how to add and subtract them, and what it actually means, because we have all these manipulators and stuff.
Yep.
And if you allow them the space and opportunity and enrich the environment, they really will just fly and
they'll kind of do it on their own almost,
do
right?
it on their
Yeah,
own. And you're just there to facilitate. That's why we don't really call ourselves teachers. We call ourselves guides, because we're kind of just like, we're like the bumpers in, when you're
Yep.
bowling. We
Sure.
just kind of keep them towards the middle, and sometimes they get a strike, and sometimes they get a spare, and so, but whatever, they're knocking pins down.
Yep.
And so I absolutely love to see the growth and how it all happens. It's fascinating to me every single time.
So you fell in love with it. So it was kind of like your anti-culture a little bit,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
so,
kinda.
But what made you want to become an owner then? How did you get into that?
Okay, so I am. How do I talk nicely about myself? I am not somebody that loves to take orders from people who who I feel like you're not zooming out a little bit and seeing how we can do this a little better. I've also had many bad bosses. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I knew that there was a better way, and I had done it enough that I was just like, I want to be able to teach in the way I want to teach. I want to have the support that I need. I want the supplies that I need. I don't want anybody chirping in my ear and kids being in my class that I'm like, they don't belong in this environment, So I was teaching at a local Montessori school, and it was fine. It was fine. It was just like I didn't see any room for growth for me, which I know sounds silly. Like, you're a teacher, what more do you want to do? And I was like, I can do a lot more than just teach these kids. Like, I can sing with them, and I can teach them how to do yoga, or I have like art idea. Like, I have all these things, but you couldn't do any of that stuff because, number one, they're not going to pay you more to do it, and you're just spinning your wheels, and they're just going to, the more teachers all over the place will tell you, they'll say, the more you do, the more they expect you to do. So I was just like, I felt like I was keeping myself back.
Sure.
And not giving these children everything that I knew that I could give them. So I quit, and I started running a local after-school program. And there I introduced a lot of Montessori concept. The parents all loved it. And this was for grade schools, like for kindergarten to 6th grade. I would have, the kids would be making their snack when they came in. It was indoor, outdoor shoes, like I said. Great footwear in Montessori world. And, they were given a lot of independence, and truly it was great. It's, as a parent, as a caregiver, as a guide, it's great to sit back and go like, you got this,
Yeah. Yep.
And it was thriving. And then the pandemic hit, and they shut down my program, obviously. And I kept telling it was a town supervisor at the time, and I kept saying, like, we can do something. We can do something outside. And it was like, no, we're not doing anything at all. I'm like, how do you expect me to do my job? How do you expect me to run a program to enrich? We're working for the town, like, we have to enrich them somehow, some programming, something. People are still paying their taxes. We got to do something. And it was just like, we don't want to get sued in case somebody gets sick. And I'm like, have you done any research? Like, we can be outside. And they just wouldn't. So I was like, so I quit. And at the time, they were allowing people to borrow from their 401ks, tax-free. So we did that. Me and my husband, we borrowed from his 401k, and I started a little garden. Funny story, the place where we're located was the place that my husband went to preschool. My kids went to that preschool, and it was just a regular preschool then. But I just knew that I needed to do something a little different. And I've also, over the years, have felt like people were missing that community part. I grew up in Queens. So like my blocks, my grandmother lived on the end of the block, and then next to her was they become family, right? They become family because you've known them for like 50 years. And we knew that we could go from Grandma's house to Vicky's house, which was like mid down the block. And you could cross the street. If you were thirsty, you could, it'd be like, get in here. Or if they saw you misbehaving, they would, People are missing that. And I live like on a main road. I don't live in a neighborhood. And I don't know many people that live in neighborhoods. And even if you do live in a neighborhood, how well do you know your neighbors? But like, that's how I grew up. Everybody took care of each other. And that's the thing that I really wanted to curate with this place. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to make it so that it's very community oriented, and we really support families, not just with the education. The education Montessori, it is what it is. But the other thing that I think makes Little Garden really such a special place is that we really truly do care about these kids as like a whole. You know, the families as a whole. We try to support families in a way that I know that you can't be successful if you're tired, right? So, okay, I'll watch your kid for you so that you can, hey, third Friday every month, we do date night. So if you want to drop your kids off, you go out on a date. You have to recharge your batteries. You can't be the best that you can be for your kid if you're constantly, on. So we try to support families in that way.
That's great. That's wild you guys do that. That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a wild concept though, if you think about it. If we can all support each other in that way.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
It's wild for today.
It's wild for today,
yeah.
but it's really such an old concept, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a book called, I forget who writes it, called Bowling Alone, and it was about the breakdown of community in America and how it's affecting people, and it's just gotten worse because I'm pretty sure that book is old, but it's still happening, and it really is like we just need to be doing this together. We need so much more solidarity and togetherness, and so that's why. And I just didn't see that anywhere, and like I said, I knew that we could do it better.
Yeah, so you got to just make it your own.
Yeah.
You got to make it what you wanted. And I think that's what a lot of people that, had crappy bosses, that hated where they worked, that were really good at something but didn't feel like they were doing it to their potential because they were either stifled or whatever.
Right.
I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. They go like, I'm going to do it my way because I want to do it my way.
I cannot say I love what I do so much. I joke that I use every single thing that I have ever learned in any job to do this one job. I originally was a musical theater person. That's what I went to school for originally. And then I switched to English secondary ed. But I'll tell you what, that musical theater training really has come in handy because I have to act like a dancing monkey for these kids sometimes because engaging with them. And so I have specials every day of the week, and we have tunes on Tuesday. I taught myself to play the ukulele.
Oh, awesome!
I taught myself in a summer, and I know how to play 4 chords.
It's all you need.
It's all you need.
You only need 3, so you're ahead of the game.
The Beatles did it with 4, so I can do it.
That's great.
I'll tell you what, it's so funny because now even my teachers are like, well, I can't do like today. It's Tuesday. My teachers are like, what am I going to do? I'm like, put music on for them. You can do it today.
Because the talent is not here.
It's fine. But I wanted to you can use every single thing that you have. That's what we do. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what parents do all the time. Like, okay, what do I got? What talent do I have? Or how can I enrich this situation? So, but it really is fun. Even when I used to work at Ruby Tuesday, I loved waiting tables. I loved talking to people. So even that, I use that, That's really fun. I really do. I always knew that I wanted to be a business owner because I just know that I'm not really good at taking orders from people because I also have that tendency to be like, I think I'm smarter than that.
Yeah.
It's not great all the time, but so far it's working out.
That's good. Listen, you're doing something right, obviously.
I'm pretty sure that I can do this better, So that's really why I wanted to do it. I also didn't have what I'm presenting as a school. I didn't have that, and I wanted it so badly. I wanted some place that I could feel like you can just kind of shed that skin and just be yourself.
Sure.
And I mean, even when my kids went to that preschool, I would be like, no, get out of the street. Why are you running it? And so many parents, don't yell at my kid. And I'm like, your kid's running in the street.
Right.
So it's that thing that like, okay, go ahead, run in the street. Yeah, go ahead. But my kids aren't going to run on the street.
Right,
So, it was that too, that we definitely have a really fantastic community of parents. But it takes like 2 hours to tour because they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them.
Gotcha.
And sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you turn down applicants, or how does that work?
So far I've never really turned anyone down, but
because I imagine not everybody's a good fit for it, right? So
I think sometimes people see us because we're private. They'll see us like, well, I pay you money, so you should do this. And I say like, no, you pay money to be a part of this. I'm not changing this for just one kid, because that's what the public school does. That's the reason why it's as crazy as it is, because one squeaky wheel will get the ear of the superintendent or the principal or the teacher or whatever. And people don't know what it's like to exist in a community. You don't get to make the rules so that it just suits one person. The rules are that it suits most of the people.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like for example, we have this program that we just started this year where once a week, one parent will buy snack for the whole class. And we do morning snack, and then we do tea time in the afternoon because they have a lot to say. So I don't know if you have a 3-year-old, so you know you said 4, 3?
Yep.
Yeah. So does he or she say,
Yeah.
and then you're like, save it for tea time. Cause
Yeah.
so,
I'm usually like, spit it out, dude.
Yeah. Sometimes we do that. Like we gotta get online. So you know what? Save it for tea time. So we have second time. We call it tea time because
That's good.
Spill the tea, kid. What
love
else
it.
would I
Yeah,
have to
sure.
say? But anyway, so the point is that the parents will buy like flour and oats or apples and applesauce and whatever, and we make stuff. And it's been so great. But that I feel like is part of that's community. That's like we're all having the same snack. We're all enjoying a meal together. We're all sitting down and enjoying tea with our, together as a family, and it really just like makes them feel so cohesive. But
Sure.
it's also, it's so multifaceted why we're doing it. It also gets the kids that the parents think are picky to try different things, because most of the time they'll eat what we're making. They ate that for you?
Yeah, I'm sure you get that.
They
Absolutely.
did. They sure did.
That's great. No, that's good. It sounds like such a nice, fun environment. And at that age, like, that's what you want for them, right? Like, you don't want like some stuffy,
Right.
Like
We're trying-
structure is good. All kids need structure. But in a learning environment like that, where especially at that age, where they're just exploring the world around them, they should be able to kind of do things
So
the way
the
that
funny
they want.
thing is, so that's one of the myths about Montessori is people think it's not structured, but it's actually uber structured because we go through a phase in the beginning of the school year called normalization. And basically what it is the children start to know what the expectations are. So you can't come into the classroom screaming. You can't
Sure.
run. You have to know, everybody does work, and we have work mats that go on the floor or work mats that go on the tables. So they have to know about that. They have to know that if they take something off the shelf, it goes back on the shelf exactly how you found it.
Perfect.
They have to know that if they clean something. So that we set up that expectation, but it
Love it.
takes
Yeah.
about 6 to 8 weeks to set that up. But it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
The nice thing about Montessori classrooms, though, is that the kids can be with you for up to 3 years. So every year they come back to the same
Oh,
classroom.
gotcha.
So it's only
Yep.
about a third of the classroom that really needs to
Once they get
normalize.
used to it, then they're
So it is actually very
into that routine.
Yeah, it's very structured, and the thing that isn't structured is when they go home and everything isn't. It's not everything in its place because
Yep.
it's home.
Yep. Sure.
But the nice thing about that is we're setting the routine for you at school, so that at home, that's like the break. That's where they can like
Be free and
yeah,
unwind.
because
and-
truly,
yeah.
there's a lot of kids that will keep it together. They'll even say, "Mommy, I was good at school all day, and I can't take it anymore." I'm like, "Yeah."
I will tell you, it's both my kids. My little guy's in preschool and my older one's in 3rd grade. And I'm like, my wife and I talk about this all the time. My wife comes from an education background. She was a 6th grade special ed teacher for about 10 years. So she's seen a lot.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. They're so like following the rules all day. When they come home, this is their safe place.
Yeah.
They go insane. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. Like
Yeah.
this is absolute, but that's what it is, right? They're used to just
Yeah.
kind of like keeping it all in, kind of keeping it together. And then they're home and they're just like,
Yeah,
Like-
but that's what I'm saying. It is
Yeah.
so structured where we are. It's structured in regular school too, but you're gonna miss it. I'm telling you right now. I know you don't think so. You're gonna miss it, but I have a almost 13, a 14, and a 17-year-old, and the way like the parents are able to like pick up their kids and hug them, and I just look at them. I'm like, oh man.
they could pick you up.
I can't do that anymore. Like my daughter tries to sit on my lap. I'm like, okay, you got 5 minutes because you are really heavy.
Yeah,
but,
I understand that. Yeah.
You miss it. It
Yeah.
does. It kind of, that being in this environment, it really does kind of really put things into perspective.
Oh,
and
I'm
kind
sure.
of try to
Yep.
appreciate every moment.
Yeah. I want to kind of go back to
Sure,
like
sure.
the entrepreneur side of things.
Sure.
We talked a little bit before we were rolling. How was the support like for you starting up your own thing? Because
Meaning
Like
financially?
From basically from like your network of people. So like family, friends. Like what was the reaction when you said, "Hey, guess what I'm going to do"?
Okay, so no one was surprised because I have been talking about Montessori since I was pregnant. Like I said, I was like, this is amazing. And I would like, and then we became Montessorians immediately. I told my husband, I was like, read this book. Oh my gosh. And even for him, I tell him all the time, like, I love having you around because you give me a lot of street cred because I'm the nerd that reads the books and you're the blue collar worker. So if you're saying it works, like it's been great. So he's like, yeah, of course. Like
it's good testimony. Sure.
Yeah. He's like, giving kids knives? Yeah, sure. Great. It's a great idea. So,
that's great.
Which we don't do. We don't give kids knives at school,
but
at home.
Again, I went to the wrong school.
Actually, they do cut. Actually, they do. Right. Yeah.
I can't get over Pickles the diabetic skeleton. That's what I can't get over. But
that sounds like a Halloween costume.
Seriously, but I'm sorry.
So no one was surprised because I'd been talking about it for a long time. So my entrepreneurial background. So the first business I had was I've always wanted to be a small business owner, always. And I remember being like maybe 9, and my aunt came and her daughter was working. She came from Minnesota, and her daughter was working at like an arcade or something. And she had this like big suitcase full of just like tchotchkes. And I got myself a fanny pack and like these 2 little kids on the block. And I was like, here, just, fill your fanny pack with all these tchotchkes. I was like, 1 piece is $0.25. And then they went I know. I still to this day, I'm like, I did that.
Oh my gosh.
And so they did that. They sold it. I think they came back with like $6. I was like, great. And I gave them $3. And people were like, on the block, they were like cracking up. Like, Nina, really? And I was like, yeah, well, they worked. So you got to pay them, like, and then amazing. I got that money, right? But like, so I kind of understood that concept.
So it was in you a little bit when you were,
yeah. Then after that, I sold Tupperware, which is not a good industry to sell, by the way, because that doesn't go bad. You are just selling people more and more crap. And so my heart wasn't in that. Plus, I'm not into multi-layer marketing.
I got you.
It's just not my thing. And then I was a makeup artist because I told you I was a theater person before this. So I would always do like theater makeup, and so I translated that into prom, Sweet 16, wedding makeup. So I was doing that for about 5 years, and I did really love that. But it just like didn't feed my soul. And there were so many times when a bride would it just wasn't my thing. Bridezillas they're not the funnest people.
I've shared my opinion about the wedding industry on the show before.
You have. I actually have.
So.
I agree, 100%. It's like the biggest day of their lives, and they just feel like they can treat everybody around them like crap sometimes. And again, that wasn't the majorody, but it was just like enough for me to not like it.
Sure.
I even had this. I'll share this one story. I had this one woman who told me she wanted me to make her look like a glitter princess, and I was like, okay, but just don't tell anybody I did this. Like that. You have to like swallow your pride and do these things that you don't want to do.
Yeah, we do that too sometimes. Where clients like, well, I want it to look like this. I'm like, yeah,
don't tell
people we did it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and
I recently said that, but we're also like, don't tell somebody that we made this for you.
But I really did love it. But it just wasn't like, it's not like my heart wasn't in it. I loved it. It just wasn't as sustaining as I would have liked it to be. And I still was always Montessori even when I was doing that. And I would even be talking to people during their makeup. So what do you do? Oh, I'm at this. I'm like, oh yeah, I do this, but really I want to do Montessori. This is like my dream. So when I first opened, nobody was surprised because it was in the works for 10 years. I had been collecting things. It was just, my husband was finally like, just quit your job. You know that you're good at this. Just quit. And so I did. No one was surprised. I was the one that was like, oh my God, I'm really doing this. I don't know how many people, I never saw anybody do this. I don't know what it's like to start a business, but I got Little Garden up and running in about 6 weeks because I quit. I got my DBA, I got my LLC. We got, like everything was going, and then I opened in 6 weeks.
That's wild. That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm still surprised that it's been 5 years. Well, about 5 years, and it's still going, and people are loving it, and that it's grown so much.
Right. Yeah, that's a good sign. That's
yeah. Everybody's
businesses that grow are good.
Yes. Well, people were telling me like. I went to the Montessori conference a few years back in Boston, and the women were like, "You're not full yet?" And I was like, "No, I'm not full. And they would say like, don't worry, 5 years. All of them, about 16 people said, 5 years, just wait 5 years. And they were not kidding. 5 years hit. And now I'm like, we have a wait list. People call. Like, my kid's 18 months old. I was wondering if we can get on your wait list. I'm like, we don't have a wait list. And I have to like, I have a Teddy who's my person, my right-hand lady. And I'm like, we need a wait list for 2026 apparently. Cause I like, I think the biggest eye-opening thing is that I can't do it by myself. I used to be able to do it by myself and I can't do it by myself anymore, which was, again, you have to kind of take stock and go, I want this to grow. I want this to be for everyone.
Yep.
So that's been hard, letting go a little bit.
Gotcha. So you were a little bit of a control freak.
No, not at all. Did you see my eyeliner? I am not a control freak.
It's funny. No, but I think a lot of people that start off by themselves usually are, especially when you're growing something on your own from scratch from the very beginning. Yeah. It's really hard to let go of that. It's like it's your baby. Like you don't want to just hand it off to somebody else. But there's probably people that can do things more efficiently than you and better than you, and that's what you want. Those are the people you want taking care of your clientele, your customers, your students.
That's what I'm realizing now is that not just that, like, yes, I could do it on my own, but it's all going to be done half-assed because you can't focus on everything.
Yeah, impossible. Because now you're not just the Montessori guide anymore. Yeah. Now you're the accountant, you're the marketer, you're the real estate broker, you're literally everything.
Everything. And as much as I'm grateful for that, I mean, you can't do it all. Like I have.
Can't do it all well.
Yeah. Exactly. You can't do it all well. And I want it to be done as well as possible. Sure. And because you're asking people to trust you with their most precious thing is their baby. So you want to make sure everything is done to the best of your ability. And so being able to outsource, when I say outsource, I mean out of my source.
Yeah, of course.
These things like every single one of my teachers right now has a specialty that they focus on, which is great because I would love to say that I can do every single one of those things, but I can't just do that.
Right.
Like I couldn't even probably get through a lesson because somebody's calling or a parent needs to talk to me.
And that's not fair. That's not fair to the students. That's not fair to the parents. It's not fair.
And I also think as a culture, as employees, because I said I've had terrible bosses because they'll either take your ideas or not listen to your ideas. And I was like, listen, I know that you guys all are experts in something that I don't know about.
Sure, exactly.
Or have a different perspective than I do, which isn't necessarily bad. Right.
That was you when you were in their position.
So everybody that comes in, they all know a thing. And I'm like, good, let's bring that into the classroom. You want to try out a new thing? Let's try it out. Let's see if it works. Because like I said, I don't know all the answers. I for sure don't know all the answers, but I know somebody does, and we're going to find that person.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. No, it sounds like just a fun environment to be in.
Great.
If you're a kid, it's got to be like,
it's so fun.
It's got to be the best.
It's so fun. We let them get messy and do all types of fun stuff. So I will say this, I'm really proud of this other thing that we've started doing. So about, I would say maybe 2 years ago at this point, we started doing this thing called toddler time. And that was because I realized I needed to drive business. I needed to drive enrollment. I say business, but enrollment when you're talking about a school. I needed to drive business towards the school. And I was like, well, if I can get them younger and younger, but I can't have them here because I'm not licensed to have little kids. Okay. Nor do I have the capacity or like the mental load to have little ones. So I started this toddler time program. And it's like, you never been to Gymboree or something that? Or seen what they, so I started doing that. So it's about an hour and a half long class. And then we would do like music, and then we would have some kind of sensory thing or an art project, and then a story. And then we would do snack, and the kids would go outside. And it just kind of kept growing and growing and growing. And now it's this massive thing where people are like, we had to, like, we were doing it in the school, and we actually are going to start a new location just for that.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So it's just been amazing.
And that's great because it gets them into your program younger, and they can be there for 3 or 4 years, right?
3 or 4 years. But it also allows these parents to like really get to know who we are.
Of course,
So Montessorians all across, I'm sure, and anybody who has been involved with Montessori, you just become part of these people's lives. You become part of their families. Like we know these people in and out. I'm sure your preschooler that preschool teacher knows a lot about you.
Probably.
So, we become really entrenched in our family's lives. And we go to sweet 16s and bar mitzvahs and weddings and baby showers. And it keeps going. So to get them that young, and so the parents get to know you, you get to know the parent. It's not even an issue when they start to go to the school. They kind of know. They don't need to normalize that much because they kind of know,
Yep.
They get settled in.
Sure.
Not to mention, we get to support them in all types of different ways. Another thing that we do is parent education. We do that every other month. We'll talk about like a book or a concept, or like one time we did a gentle parenting one. I think that was the biggest one we've had. Like everybody was kind of sitting around holding hands about like, we hate gentle parenting. And everybody was like, oh, me too. Like, I hate it so much.
Oh, I wasn't sure where you were going with that one. I was going to be like, I think we're going to cut it here.
We don't love gentle parenting. And it has nothing to do with, it has more to do with people aren't doing it. It's a very authoritative way to raise your children. But people hear gentle parenting and they just think it's a very permissive and passive way. But it's really not. It's really... The one thing I tell people, I'm like, don't ask a question you don't want the answer to. Would you like to put your shoes on? No, it's put your blue shoes on or put your red shoes on. Mm-hmm. But we're heading out the door. And if you don't have shoes on, you don't have shoes.
They need a choice. It feels like they're in control at that point. Yeah.
And, and that's not exactly gentle parenting. But anyway, we talk about things like that. I mean, we talked about that book, The Anxious Generation. And we all kind of talked about, like we all have, obviously the parents who have children that go to the school, they all have children that age. But I don't. My children are middle school and high school. And it still affects us. And so it was kind of nice to see different perspectives. And then also all the parents that come, they all have their backgrounds and their whatever they're bringing. Yep. Some of them are high school teachers. Some of them are elementary school teachers. Some of them deal with the public. Some of them are nurses and doctors. Some of them, and so it's everybody's perspective. And it's just a really nice kind of open, lovely way to start a conversation and just kind of figure out what your style is like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, that's how you get those birthday party invites.
That's right. So, believe it or not.
Listen, whatever.
I want to go to this Saturday. So
that's great. Hey, listen, it's a party, right? So from kids to the parents. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's just to wrap it up. Like how can people get in touch with you? How can they get on a waiting list if there is one? Where do we send people if they want to learn about it?
littlegardenmontessori.org.
Okay.
And it's Little Garden Montessori on Instagram and on Facebook as well.
That's great. Okay, cool.
Us, yeah.
And is there a wait list currently?
There is a wait list for this year.
Okay.
For next year, there is not.
Gotcha.
I mean,
not yet.
You can be on the wait list because we do have limited spots available, but the spots are not filled yet.
Gotcha.
So yes,
okay.
Get on that wait list.
Get on the list now. And we're in
LaGrangeville.
Gotcha, LaGrange. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yep. That's what I thought. So this is great. It sounds like an awesome place to be. The concept sounds amazing.
Come check Towler Time out. We do have lovely coffee
for me.
Too. You can come, sure. We have every time somebody comes in, we say, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" And they go, "Oh, yes, I would." So
that's great.
We're full service.
That's awesome. Like I said, from kids to parents,
that's right.
It's amazing. Well, congrats on everything,
Thank
and
you.
Good luck to everything in the future. And thanks for
so
coming
much.
by. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.